I think it's very in fashion now to ask people in interviews who are successful if they have imposter syndrome, but it tends to only be asked to women. And I think the implication that you're supposed to approach your success like, oh my God, can you believe it? I can't believe that I actually happened to me. I know every day I'm worried that they're going to find out that I'm a fraud. And it's it's irritating because for someone like me who has worked so hard and tirelessly, like I was at the office for 8 years over like 170 episodes, learning how to create and write and act on a show before I did my own show. It's like, if I had imposter syndrome at that point, I have like pathologically low self-confidence. But then if you say like, no, I don't really have imposter syndrome. I think I've like done the work and I belong in the, where I am right now. It makes you seem like, oh, she like thinks she's like so amazing and important. So it's this fine line, because I think one thing we have to worry about as working women is that if we're successful, that we don't come across as thinking we're overconfident or too much. And those are just things that those questions of our identity in our success are things that my male colleagues just don't have to think about. They just exist. So I think it was maybe season 3 of The Office, and for the Emmy Awards, you have to be a producer level writer and above to be able to qualify for an Emmy. And I was so happy because that year I had finally become a producer, and the Emmys decided arbitrarily that year that you could only submit 10 people. And then I was the cutoff person. I was the only person of color, and I was the only woman that was cut from the list because I was like number 11. And I had to do this humiliating thing, which is I had to ask all of my male colleagues, my white male colleagues, to come to my defense. I had to say, do you mind writing a letter to the Academy? And so it already felt so unjust. But then on top of that, I had to go and sort of like take my hat off and be like, do you mind doing this favor for me? But it was just something that I was deserved. And they all said yes. But then it was like I owed them something. And then when the Emmys decided 2 weeks before the ceremony that they were going to include me, it was like they were my great benefactors for having said yes. So it's just like this impossible situation where I was supposedly supposed to be so grateful to all these men for just getting the thing that I deserved. When I first came into the business, all I wanted to do was to keep the job and be able to write for TV. I didn't think of myself as an activist. I didn't want to be associated with people who are activists. My parents as immigrants were like, if you get a job, if you're lucky enough to have this job, just keep your head down, become invisible, and just be of service. But the flip side of that, of course, is it's like, don't acknowledge, don't bring up that you're Indian, that you're a woman. Don't be that person that's like political and always talking about that. And I really took it to heart, right? This sort of like erasure of self to be a good worker. And so what I've struggled with since that advice is like that advice helped me get onto the office. It helped me succeed at the office. But I think when you're the only person, you have this feeling. When I was the only woman, only person of color, you're like, phew, I made it. And you're put into this system that makes you feel like, I don't want there to be any more because I'm going to be replaced or I'm going to be less special. So it wasn't until I felt that I had some real confidence and security in my job where I was able to sort of see it more clear-eyed, which is that, it wouldn't be such a struggle at work to tell stories that I'm interested in if there was more of us. I came into this business because I wanted at the beginning, I wanted to be a storyteller, and I wanted to tell comedic stories and work on TV. And for me, the idea of being a role model, it wasn't something I was hoping to be. It was something that I felt had a lot of baggage with it and responsibilities with it. And I just wanted to be like a freewheeling artist saying whatever I wanted without having to worry about repercussions. So that is obviously not the case of my life. And as I became more successful and it became apparent that there was not a lot of other Indian American women who were my peers, I realized that that was kind of inevitable. So the idea of role model is something that it took me a long time to embrace. It's really complicated because I'm this person, I grew up in the complete nuclear family. My parents were married for 40 years, and I grew up idealizing that and really wanting that. And I'm also someone who writes about romance constantly. I'm a single mom of two kids. I decided to do it that way because I really wanted to have kids. And when I look at like that way, I think like, wow, that is so far from what I thought my life would be like when I was a kid and what my parents' lives were like. And they had such a happy marriage. So there's that side of me too. But I also think life is long. And I think like, one day I could find someone too. And I often think, like, oh, is this for my kids? Like, would it be better if there was like they had this dad figure at the house? These are things I think about all the time because I'm like an A student and I'm really neurotic and I want to win, right? I want to win at work and I want to win at life. And so I do think about those things all the time. Ultimately, though, I've never been happier in my life. And I think that has to count for something, right? The only way I'm able to do my job is because I have help. Like I have two nannies who I love who help me. I have my assistant who helps run my life. And I have my dad who comes and helps me raise my kids. And so for me, that's how I'm able to do it. I think the the solution is apprenticeship, and that's allowing and encouraging people to follow a director around and watch them when they're on set so that they can get the like actual like on the ground experience that they would need when they have the job, so they're not bewildered and out of their depths when they have the job. Because it's like with all of the change that's happened in the past couple of years about encouraging inclusion, there hasn't been the same rapid effect and like let's have more widespread training for everyone. And so I think to me, setting people up so they don't fail is the single biggest thing that we can do.